So in our previous video, we were talking about parking. So in this video, we'll see how we can ride some of their vehicles. So basically, we are talking about record level access in Salesforce, the most important topic, and it will be time taking. I will try. It will not be boring for you. This is the pyramid that you can see. The open like the top you go in the pyramid, you will get the wider access for any record. Even after a manual setting, we do have many things that we will not cover in this video, but those things are like you are part of some kind of teams in Salesforce, you are part of some kind of territory hierarchies in Salesforce. Those are some wider range of access as well for the records. So even these are the main four important things for accessing the Salesforce record in Salesforce that we will see. So first thing that we will talk about organization wide defaults, then we will talk about role hierarchies, and going forward we will see how sharing rule works, and then we will talk about manual sharing as well. After that we have again we have a flow diagram that we will see how actually Salesforce checks the access behind the scene. So again, this is the same image that we saw last video. We have vehicles in the parking lot, which are actually records in Salesforce. So if we talk about objects, now we have got the access of object in Salesforce. Now it's time to see the records, or if you wanted to create some records in Salesforce, how we can do that. If we relate with the parking things, now we have got access to parking. Now we need to see which particular vehicle we can ride, or which particular vehicle we can only see, we cannot ride. So the vehicle that we own, we can definitely ride that, and those vehicles which suppose that I do have a vehicle, my friend also owns a vehicle, I can ride that as well, because that vehicle is shared with me, but other vehicles I cannot see. Again, if we simulate the same example into Salesforce, we have got records which are owned by us. If we are owning any record, we can do anything with them, and the records which we can either view or edit, that are shared with us. And that for sharing we have those four options that we saw in the pyramid, and the others that we discussed. So up to here, everyone on the same page? Anyone have any question before we go ahead? Okay, I will take the silence as no. Now what OWD is, this is a base level access or base level security for a record of any object that is available into your Salesforce environment. The record level access that will be controlled, the first that will be OWD for you. You have to define OWD, and by default it's private, and then you can change it as per your business requirement what you want to. So these are five options that are available, and these two options, 4 and 5, are available in some exceptional cases. So I will walk you through what each of these options mean. So private, what it does mean is, suppose that we are taking an example of account object. If we have an object and we are making OWD of any object as private, that means the record owner who has created the record, or who is the owner of a record, can access, and the user who are above in the role hierarchy can access a record. And other user who don't have access, no matter they have access to object or not, they will not be able to see other users record until and unless the record has been shared by any of the sharing mechanism that we just saw. So any doubt on private option for OWD?
No, I think no, Amit bhai, it's okay.
Okay, and then we say that public read only. This means any user that is available in Salesforce environment and have access to the object, at least read only access to the object label, can see the record but cannot edit. Who can edit? Again, the owner and the user who is on top of their role hierarchy can access and edit the record. And the other users who are not the owners, or that is not shared with any sharing mechanism, can view the record but cannot edit or delete the record. And then we have got public read write. That means any user who have access at a record label. Again, that object label must be access either read or edit. That user can access the record, and that user can also edit the record. That means they can modify with the new values. These two options are available at exceptional cases that I just mentioned. When this is available, this will be available for the child record, sorry, child object, if the no, if sorry, if those two objects are related with master detail. Suppose that we have one custom object called invoice, and we have another custom object called invoice line item. Those two objects are related with master detail. Then the invoice line item OWD will always be controlled by parent.
Mm-hmm.
That means whatever access we have at a parent object, that which is invoice in our case, the same access will be inherited to the child object, that is invoice line item. Any questions?
No, yes.
Clear?
But guys, if anyone having question, you can ask.
No, right now we don't have.
Okay.
Okay.
So again, one key thing here that most of the people don't know is, if a child is there in case of master detail relationship, we will not be having an owner ID field available for child object. That is even an standard field, that but that field will not be available for child object. And what's the reason behind it? Again, the reason is because the security is always being inherited from the parent. And then we have fifth option, that is public read write sorry, it is transfer. Let me quickly change it. So it's public read write transfer. This is available only for two objects. One is for cases and one is for lead. What does it mean by transfer? Because we already discussed about public read write. Transfer is that we can transfer the cases and lead in a bulk way to another user. That means if you wanted to change the ownership, we can also change. But in this case, public read write, we cannot change the owner of that particular record. So everyone is clear what OWD is, and what are the options available. If anyone asks the questions related to this, will everyone be able to answer that?
Yeah, Amit bhai, can you please once explain once again the owner fields regarding something with an
Okay,
example?
sure. So again, let me open my Salesforce environment, and hope I do have a custom object called sorry, I have some custom object with master detail relationship. Even in case of standard objects as well, if you have a child object which is related with the pair with another object that is master object. So if we see here, you can see that I have a parent object, that is sorry, I have order object which is a child, and then beer is a parent object. Let me open the structure for these two objects. So this is just a custom object I just created, and there are a few custom fields to store the information about what beer can have some kind of attributes. And then this is a child object, that is beer order. It is nothing, just store the order information for a particular beer that a user has placed using some kind of e-commerce community site. So if you see that here, I do have a field which is a master detail relationship field with my object called beer. This is a my parent object. Now if I try to access owner ID field for this particular object, I will not be able to access. I'll just quickly show you here. So here it's a custom query that I have got. Now let's try to access owner ID field. You can see here we are getting an error. What that error is, that there is no such column called owner ID on entity. beer order. That is our child object. Why we are getting this? Because that is this particular object is related with another object with a master detailed relationship, and this object is at child side. And on top of this, if we try to make it change, let's say that we are saying as we wanted to access owner ID for beer records. In this case, we will be able to see that owner ID. You can see, but we don't have any record here, but still our query is successfully running. Is it clear now?
Yeah, but it's
Okay, cool. So this was all about OWD. Now let's talk about our role hierarchy. So role hierarchy is also like most of the times many interviewer ask some question about what's the difference between a profile and a role is. So many people got confused, says that profile and role both are related with fields and record level access. Sorry, yep, object and record level access. But if you say that role stands for R stands for role, and again R stands for records, that means role will always be dealing with the accessibility of a record in Salesforce. There is nothing related with objects or field accessibility. And this is a kind of a structure that an organization can have. On the topmost, they do have a CEO, and then they might got senior VP, they have got senior financial officer, they have got CTO, and then under that there might be some people working as senior managers. Under managers there will be some managers, team leads, senior developers, junior developers, and interns. This will be some kind of hierarchy that you can imagine in your mind. Now how this role hierarchy plays a role in record level accessibility. Again, there is nothing, because this is an optional field at a user level. Either you wanted to define a role to a particular user or not. So I will give you an example how this works. Suppose that there is a user who is having senior manager profile. That user is creating a record. Then what will happen? And OWD is private. This role hierarchy comes into the picture if OWD is a private or public read only. If it is public read, right, there is nothing. There is no role hierarchy which plays a role in record level accessibility. Then it becomes a myth if OWD is public read write. But if OWD is private or public read only, then what will happen? If this particular user is creating a record, these users are not going to get any access in case of in case of private. Then, but this particular user who is the user who is having SVP as their role, they will be able to access all the records uh, by created by the users who are having a role called senior manager. And CEO is a father of a company who can access records of any users who is present in the Salesforce environment. Now, what if this user creates a record? The users who are having role as SVP or creating a record in Salesforce, what will happen? Below the role hierarchy, no user will be able to see a record. Sorry, no user will be able to see record until unless they have been the record has been shared with them with some kind of either sharing rules or manual sharing or some kind of teams territory hierarchy. Those are the different things. But this role hierarchy only comes in the picture with the OWD only. So if this user is creating a record, no one will be able to access in this hierarchy, but CEO will be able to access the record. Now if we talk about public read only, we have set public read only as OWD for any object. The users having role SM is creating a record. Automatically every user will be having view access, read only access to that record if the user is having object level access at profile level. But the user who are having SVP role will be having additional permission, that is for editing the record. But the user who are subordinates, that means who are colleagues, or the users who are below the role hierarchy will be able to access the record in a read only mode. This is how role hierarchy works. Any questions that comes into your mind?
The senior manager in this scenario, uh, I just confirming this SVP. Suppose senior manager has the access to only read only.
Okay.
Then SVP will be able to edit as well.
Yep. So see, if you have suppose that we are talking taking a case of private as OWD. Okay. Now SM is creating a record, because SM will only be able to create a record if the user have create permission at profile level. If they have read only permission, they will not be able to create. But if they are creating, that means they have create permission at profile level. Now SVP will be able to edit that record and view that record only if they have access at object level. If they don't have access at object level, no matter where they sit in the role hierarchy, they will not be able to access that record, or they will not be able to modify that. Again, the modification of any record will be depend on the object level access. That's what we discussed in our previous video, how object level access is controlled.
Okay, okay.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
Yep. Again, if there is any confusion, just think about that parking example. You can only ride a vehicle, or you can only see a vehicle if you have access to that parking. Until unless you don't have access to that parking lot, you will not be able to access, or you will not be able to ride any kind of vehicles. That's what here. Objects are nothing, those are parking lots, and records are nothing, those are vehicles inside parking lots. It's clear now?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. Anyone, before we go ahead? Okay, no problem. So now we discuss about OWD, what OWD is. Like we have got the access. With the help of roles, we opened up the access for some of the users. If still our some of the users are not able to get the access to the records that they are willing to access, or they are willing to work with, what else option that we had is we can create a sharing rule. So on top of OWD and role hierarchy, we have sharing rules, which are also used to open up the access for records. We cannot restrict the access using sharing rules. And what are the different types that are available, that we can say that we can create while creating a sharing rules? The options that we have available is criteria based, and then we have owner based. So if we take example of criteria based is, suppose that in India we have different states, and in different states we have different users who are working for a particular state. What we can do is we can create a sharing rule saying that if the state is, suppose that we are taking an example of Delhi. If the state is Delhi, then share this record with those set of users who are working for Delhi. We can quickly share that. And if you talk about owner based, that means we can check for their profiles, we can check for their roles, what the role of the user who is creating that record, and then we can share. For an example, let's say that no one can see CEO records. If CEO is creating any record in Salesforce, no one can see. But now, if there is a requirement, some of senior managers or some of managing directors, they wanted to see their record, uh, even only read only mode. What we can do is we can create an owner based criteria rule. We can say if the owner of a record having the role as CEO, then share this record with this group of users. So is it clear, the types of sharing rules?
Yes.
Okay, and then
Yes.
second question that is most asked in the interview questions, which is with whom we can share a record using sharing rules. What are all options? Because we are talking that with the help of sharing rules, we can open up the access, we can share the record with a group of users. But what are options available to us? So the options are, we can share a record to a particular role. Roles means that we just discussed: CEO, CFO, senior VP, some kind of support roles, managers, senior managers, or developers. Then we have some public groups. I'll just walk you through how this public group works. And then we have roles and subordinates. That means if you have a role, under that roles, then you have got some other roles. You can also share with them. Again, we have option, roles, and internal subordinates. And then we have roles, internal and portal subordinates. There might be some roles which will become available to you once you are enabling your community in your environment, or you are enabling a site in your environment. So these are not the limited, but yeah, these are the ones which will be available to you anytime in your Salesforce environment. And there might be additional roles available to you. There might be additional public groups available to you if you are creating. By default, there will be some public groups available. I will explain what each and every public group does. There will be some roles and subordinates available to you. You can also create your own roles. Yep, there is one question which most us interview, which is, can we share a record with the user? Definitely, most of the people will say yes. But the answer is, we cannot share a record with the user directly. Directly means, if you see that in the option, I've never mentioned that you can share a record with the user, but I have mentioned that you can share a record with the public group, and then public group can contains everything. That means it can be a role, it can be a user, it can be public group itself, it can be roles and subordinates. So the solution is, if you wanted to share a record with the user, you have to first create a public group, add that user inside that group, and then share a record with that public group. Is it clear?
Yeah, got it.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. And then again, what level of access we can give? That is read and edit. We
Hmm.
cannot give either a transfer a record, that means changing the owner, or we cannot give delete permission. Those two permissions will be controlled by um, profile level. If you have access, modify all or view all, then only you can make the changes, or if you are the owner of that particular record. There is one thing that we already covered this particular part, that is, can we share a record with the user? But yeah, there is one thing, when does this particular sharing rules work? Because we saw that there are multiple options in case of OWD. So this sharing rules will only work if you have OWD as private or public read only. If you have OWD as public read write or public read write transfer or control by parent, those sharing rules will not work. So in case of private only and public read only, why the reason behind this is because it is a private. Private means only the user or only the owner or the users who are above the role hierarchy can access. But what if we wanted to give the access to other users who are not in that particular role hierarchy? And the same thing with public read only. You might be thinking that it's a read only, everyone can see. Then why this sharing rules will work, and what's the need of sharing a record? Again, this is a read only record. What if I wanted to give the permission to a user saying that you can also modify that particular record? In that case also we need to share a record to that user. That's why these are the two OWD options available, on top of which sharing rule works. So up to here we are clear before we go ahead to the next option.
So, so
Okay. So next option
Amit,
is,
one question.
yeah, go ahead.
You have shared that option for sharing setting, public users, public groups, roles and subordinates. So there were a option public group, roles and internal subordinates. Is that option available for manual sharing?
Yes, all those options are available for manual sharing.
All five?
Yes, even user is also available. In case of manual sharing, you can share with a particular user only. You don't need to create a public group and add that user there.
Okay.
Is it clear now? I'll just
Yes, yes.
walk you through. No problem. You don't
Yeah,
need to worry.
yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
walk you through.
I was thinking about, I guess, four options are available, but you have mentioned five, so I was confirming that.
No, even if there is any miscommunication or any gap between us, we'll just quickly see how does it work.
Yes, that
Okay.
would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. So here it is about the fourth option that we saw in our pyramid, that is manual sharing. So manual sharing is basically comes into the picture when it is like in very exceptional cases. What are those exceptional cases? Suppose that there are two users. One user is working in some opportunity, and that user is going on vacation. That user wants that a particular user should be owning that opportunity and working on that opportunity for closing that opportunity or for reaching out the client to make them interested into their business. In that case, what user will do, because we no need to create a sharing rule for this particular requirement, saying that hey, whenever a user is going on vacation, just make a checkbox on user record saying that that user will be checking that checkbox. Even that will be time taking process. We have to create some kind of process builders and flow to share a record. In that case, Salesforce has provided us a manual sharing option. User can go to that particular record, which record they wanted to share. There will be a button available sharing, which is available for Classic, and I don't believe that is still available for Lightning. We don't have that option in Lightning, but that is available.
It is available in Lightning. Amit.
Is it came in recent release?
No, for reports and dashboard, it is available in Lightning.
No, for the records I'm telling.
No,
We're talking
in
about
Lightning
records.
it is not still available, Amit.
Yeah, that's what in for the records it is not available. For the reports and dashboards, yep, that is available. That is a different thing. So there is a button that will appear automatically, that is sharing. Once you will click on that button, you will have option. You will see with whom that record is already shared, and then you will see that option to add a user, a group of users, roles, portal roles, or you can see community users as well. You can share that record. So that is the thing. Again, manual sharing will only work if the OWD is private or public read only. If OWD is a public read write, that button will disappear automatically. You will not be able to see. Even if you try to add it from your page layout, that button will not appear into the detail page. And what happens behind the scene whenever we are sharing a record? Anyone have idea about that? Even I just put that content into slide, but I wanted to ask if anyone have idea what happens actually behind the scene when we share a record to the users.
I think when we share a record to someone, he or she might be able to see the object, like he should having the access to object. Then we can share the record with them.
Okay, but suppose that I just shared one record with the user. Where does Salesforce stores? How does Salesforce get to know that this record has been shared with this particular user or a group of roles, public group, a set of users? Where does actually Salesforce stores that information?
Using IDs.
That's correct. But where those IDs gets stored into Salesforce?
Metadata.
Okay, anyone else? No problem. I'll tell you. So once you are sharing a record, there is even if you are making private as sorry OWD as private or OWD as public read only, there will be one object which will become available to you. Those objects are called as share object. That means every object which have OWD either of private or public read only will have their own share object. How does those share object look like? What all fields are available there, we will also see, and we will see from where we can access and from where we cannot access those objects. So those share objects for standard objects, those are already available. So if we talk about what will be the API name for those object, so API name will be, it will always append share next to the object API name. Suppose that we have a standard object called account. The share object will be account share, where it does actually stores the information of shared records with whom that particular record has been shared. If you have an standard object called opportunity, then object will be opportunity share. For case, it will be case share. For lead, it will be lead share. And why this is available for standard objects by default? Because it will store one entry for the owner of a record. We will see just what does I mean by this one entry. So whenever you are creating an standard object, you will be the owner by default, and it will create an entry in account share object saying that you are the owner for this particular record, and this record has been shared with you. That's why this account share or standard share objects are available for you. But when it comes to custom object, this object will only be available if you are making the OWD for your object as private or public read only. If you make it to public read, right, this share object will disappear. And again, if you make the change to private, the share object will appear. And how does it look like? What will be the API name? Again, the API name for your object will be, it will replace underscore underscore C with underscore underscore share from your Salesforce API name, not the label. It's API name. Suppose that you have an object called student underscore underscore C. The share object will be student underscore underscore share. And then if you talk about some other custom object which might have some kind of space in their label, then how it will look like? Suppose that invoice line, the API name will look like invoice underscore line underscore C. Sorry, it is underscore underscore C. The share object will be invoice underscore line underscore underscore share. So is it clear what does it stores the data behind the scene, to know that with whom that particular record has been shared? Anyone? I'm not sure. Someone was talking, but your voice was not audible. Can you come again? Okay, so I'll take the silences now. Again, this is a very important question. When this share object available becomes available into your Salesforce at point of, even not point of Salesforce interview questions, but even a part of while you are trying to debug some kind of sharing things as an admin or as an developer. So make sure that you have good understanding of all these sharing things. So now we are done with these pyramid things. We have got few more options. One is Apex managed sharing. That means we can insert share object records while we are trying to share a record using Apex classes, Apex triggers, or batch Apex. And there is teams. In Salesforce, we have some standard teams for standard objects. For custom objects, we don't have any teams. If you want, we have to create. But for standard objects, we do have like case teams, we have account teams, we have opportunity teams. So if more than one user is working with a particular opportunity, we usually find a way to share a record using teams. And then again, we have territory. That is a complete different topic. So before we go ahead, I will show you how these four pyramids are present in Salesforce, and then we will see this particular flow diagram. So why we discussed those things before? Because this flow diagram contains all those things in one place. That's what we are going to discuss. Anyone, before we go ahead and see where these stands into Salesforce environment? Okay, seems that I'm a good teacher. I'm teaching it in a good way, right? Okay,
Yes,
so first thing that we will discuss. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying you are a good teacher.
Okay, so we will discuss about OWD, where we can see OWD for all the objects that are available in our Salesforce environment. So what we need to do is, from the quick search box from a setup, we need to type sharing settings, and under security controls you will see sharing setting option available. Once you will click in this link, it will display all the OWD for all the objects. Even you will see sharing rules that are also listed below this OWD. If you see here, you have got organization wide defaults. By default it is set to all objects. That means you will see OWD for all the objects here. But if you wanted to change it, or if you wanted to see for a particular object, suppose that I wanted to see for a student, I can select that object from the drop down, and once I'll select this, it will only display the sharing settings and sharing rules for me for that particular object only. So if you see here, I just selected a student. Now I can see that student OWD, there are two options: default internal and external access. Then we have got this checkbox as well. We'll discuss these three options. Then we have got few more settings, but we are going to not going to discuss about those. Here we have got sharing rules. So for every object that you are creating into your system, or that is available into the system, you will get the sharing rules. You can create your sharing rules. Now can anyone tell me what's the difference between these two: default internal access and external access? Anyone?
Internal external just means like internal within our you having access to something, or external are just external services or external records like SAP and anything extra, if I'm not wrong.
Good try. Okay, so I'll tell you.
Just
Internal
a
access.
wild guess, Amit. Like
Yeah,
internal access is for the employees, just external access is for business users,
I mean,
for
somehow
the sake
close.
of reports and dashboards.
Yeah, sometimes there might be a partner community, customer community, or you have Salesforce site. This is OWD for those community users. It's clear now?
Bhaiya,
Yes.
actually, Shubham is not recording the session. I guess some network issue. Yeah.
It's recording now.
Yeah, now my
I think
network,
you.
there's network issues right now. So I think there's now.
Okay, I think I think to you can start recording also, so that we
Yeah.
can get recording.
Yes.
Okay, so did you start it? Okay, so is this difference clear between internal and external access?
Yes.
Okay, so what this grant access using role hierarchy means? Anyone have idea? Because we are talking about role hierarchy, what this checkbox means. Okay, so this checkbox is actually which is driving the access level of your record OWD. If I uncheck this checkbox, by default it's checked. But if you want that the user who are above your hierarchy cannot access your record using this role hierarchy, that you can uncheck this checkbox. But the catch here is this checkbox can only be can only be changed for custom objects. For the standard objects, it will always be by default checked, and you will not be able to make the change. So let's quickly edit this. What will happen, that means if you have any standard object, a user above your role hierarchy will definitely see this checkbox. Having a custom object inside your Salesforce environment, you can make the changes in this checkbox. And if you uncheck this checkbox, that means the user, no matter that user is either above of your role hierarchy or he's the owner of your Salesforce environment, he's the CEO of your company, will not be able to access. That is the only thing, the difference here. But you can only make the change for custom objects. For standard objects, if you see, these are unchecked and you cannot change those checkbox. So that's what this use of grant access using hierarchy means. Anyone have any questions up to now? Because we just covered two things, OWD and role hierarchy. Okay, now let's talk about sharing rules. How does sharing rule works? So as I just made the change for this grant role hierarchy, sorry, that checkbox changed. So every time you are making any changes to your OWD or you are creating a new sharing rule, what it will do is it will recalculate the sharing of your environment. That means suppose that I am making the checkbox as unchecked for this object called student. So what it will do, it will recalculate the complete sharing for my environment and we'll see which user or who what are the all the users who are having the access to this record based on role hierarchy, and those access will get removed from the users, and now the only users who is are having the access either as a owner of the record or access from the other parameter instead of role hierarchy, those will only having the access. The users who are having the access based on role hierarchy, the access will get removed if I remove this checkbox. Again, if I again come back to this particular object, check this checkbox, the sharing will again recalculate and the access will be provided or removed based on what kind of actions we are performing. And to create the sharing rules, again we have to come to sharing setting, find the object. Let's quickly select it as all object. Okay, so if you see that now we have got all the objects here, we have got all the options that we're talking about. We have got private as well. We have got public read write transfer. We have got control by parent, and we have also got public read only. So all the options that we just discussed, we have got those. So to create the sharing rules, you just need to scroll down, find your object for which you wanted to create a sharing rule. You will have option for all the objects here. Suppose that I wanted to create sharing rule for this object. You just need to click on new. Now here you will find an option, the type of your sharing rules that we just discussed. Either it is based on owner or based on criteria. What will be the option that you wanted to choose here? Provide the label, valid label here, and then you have this will automatically get populated. Suppose that I'm saying a sharing rule demo. It will the API name will automatically get populated for your particular role, whatever you are putting here. And then you just need to provide a valid description. As a best practice, I'll always prefer to provide a valid description to the users, so that any users, suppose that you are an admin now and after 3 years down the line some other admin coming into the picture and is trying to find out what are all the sharing rules available, so that admin definitely can get to know for which this user has been, sorry, sharing rule has been created. Even if you are working against some kind of Jira tickets or some kind of bug fixes, it's always best to specify the bug fix number or a Jira ticket number in the description, so that admin can quickly get back and check what actually that ticket was or that bug fix was. And then select the rule type here. It might be based on record owner or based on criteria that we just discussed. If you see that we selected based on record owner, Now we have got here, it is saying that Twitter followers, this is our object, owned by member of public group, roles, and internal subordinates, or roles internal and portal subordinates. If you see here in the public group, you have got these many roles available, sorry, groups available. So these two groups are created by me. One is roles combined and one is Indian employees. But these three roles are available by default to you. All customer portal user means you have a community enabled, then you will get all internal user means that all the users who are actually using Salesforce. All partner users means that you have a partner community, and the user partner community users are creating a record. You are sharing that record with your set of users. Is it clear here? Okay, and then you can select either roles. If you see roles here, you will see all the roles that are available. From where we can create a role, I'll just quickly walk you through. And again, you have criteria. If you select criteria, you will see the fields of your objects. You can see here, you can select Twitter handle. I can select if that's equal to, I'm putting my Twitter handle here. If I'm saying that if the Twitter handle is equal to this particular, then I just wanted to share with the public group called Indian employees. And just for a demo here, you have read only object. I'm saying that I want to share, I wanted to give the access as read write. If you select here, click save. Once I will save this, as soon as I will save this, again the security will be recalculated. Security means the sharing settings will be recalculated for that particular object, and whoever the users are there in this particular group will have the access read write for all the Twitter records which Twitter handle equals to Claudio May. That means there is only one, there will be only one record. So up to here we are clear what OWD is, how does role hierarchy works, and how to create a sharing rules and what's the significance of those.
Bhaiya, could you please explain default external access again?
Yep, sure. So default internal access is basically for making sure that what kind of OWD we wanted to enforce to our external users. Who are our external users? The users that are intended to access your either partner community or your customer community or your Salesforce sites. So suppose that you have created a community for providing the supports to your users, right? You are selling some kind of product. There are some customers who are already using those products. They wanted to get help. We can create a community. From there they can visit our website. Community is nothing, it actually looks like a normal website where they can visit, they can find the articles, they can find frequently asked questions, they can raise a case. Raise a case means they can create a case into our Salesforce environment. So for those users, what OWD we wanted to enforce? Suppose that we wanted any users to have any external users, that means community users, can see the case records. That means or we can say that can see the FAQ records, frequently asked questions. We can make the access as public read only, so that they can see the records of any FAQ objects. And then they have cases. They don't want to disclose the information of their cases, what problems they had or what was the actual solution. We can make the private. That is for this is only for controlling the access for the external users, community users, which might be related to partner community, customer community, or Salesforce site. Is it clear now?
Okay.
Okay, cool. Now let's talk about manual sharing. That was a question here. So if we have account, suppose that, just quickly get back here. Now you can see that we have got this button that is sharing. Okay. If we
Yes,
wanted
yes.
to, if you wanted to share a record with the user with the groups or with the roles. If you click on that button, you will see that this particular account, this is the name of account, and this is by default entry that I was telling you that there will be one entry for standard objects. Now we have got reason as owner, and if we share it via sharing rules, we will see reason as rule, and if we are sharing it manually, we will see reason as manual here. I will just see here. Now you have got add option. If you wanted to provide some extra access to the some users, we have got option all public groups. We have got roles and internal subordinates. We have got roles internal and portal subordinates, and we have got user as well. So I think we are getting all the options that we just mentioned there. Are we missing anyone? Any option we are missing?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
No,
Yep.
Can you explain what is
right.
roles, internal and portal
No,
subordinates?
correct. That is correct.
Okay. Roles internal and portal subordinates are basically related to the community roles. If you have partner community or customer community enabled, you can see if let's quickly select this option. We will see what options we have. When okay, so let's say that we have CEO. By selecting this option here, we wanted to share a particular record with this roles internal and portal subordinates. That means whatever the users who are having the having the role as CEO, and they are related with some kind of okay, it is CEO India. Okay, and their subordinates, that means their colleagues will also be having the access, and based on that, there might be some kind of colleagues who are related with some partner communities. They do have different roles, but they are somehow related with uh, in the same role hierarchy. They will also be having that access for the record.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so now here if you see that for account we have got three objects. Why we are controlling the access of all three objects is as because account is a parent of opportunity, parent of case, but we don't see here contact because the relationship between those two is a lookup with cascade delete. Now we can select here which option we wanted to see here: read only, read write. For opportunity we have private, read only, read write. What private means, again, the owner of opportunity can only access, see that. So I'll just say it, save it. Now if you see here, now we are got that reason as manual sharing. Again, if we share this record with rule sharing rule, it will be the region will be rule. If we are sharing the record using apex, the region will be manual, or yep, that is the one. So we have got this kind of, these are the options that are available. You have different things, teams and all that we are not going to discuss. So up to here we are clear. Before we go ahead and see what this our how this flow actually works while we are trying to access a record. Okay, I think no one have any questions, so we'll see here. Again, there is a user who is the most restricted user for object X. That might be a custom or standard object. First thing that Salesforce will check, if a user is trying to access a record for object X, is that user having modify all, view all data at profile level? If it is, if the user is having, then let the user access to that record. That means indirectly we can also access a record at a profile level. We can define either user can access or not, but this is only for view all data and modify all data, and user can access the record. Again, if this is not, we are it will check if the OWD for an object is public read only. If that is enabled, let the user access the record, because user is authorized to access, and we don't want to make any kind of warnings to the user. If that is also not the case, again check if OWD is public read write. Yes, let the user access the record. Now we have got option, if OWD is private, First. Second, owner is above role hierarchy. The option that we just discussed. If a user is not owner but above the role hierarchy, have the access as object level, let the user access to that particular record user is trying to access. If that is also not the case, check if user is owner. Yep. If the user is owner, yep, let the user access to record. That is also not the case. Again, check if the record has been shared using sharing rules. Okay, if that is also the case, let the user access record. If not, again check if the record has been manually shared to the user. Again, it will check if yes, record will be visible. If not, it will check. These are the three options that we not discussed. It will check if the record has been shared using Apex. If the answer is yes, record will be visible. If not, it will make another check. User is part of teams. That means either account team, case team, or opportunity team. If that is the case, let the user access the record. If not, again check if the record has been shared using territory. If not, access denied. If yes, let the user view the record or whatever the access permission for that user is. So is this flow diagram clear, everyone? Because we already discussed most of the things before we came here in this diagram. That's why I just walked you through in a very linear way. So I'll say this is the last slide for this for today's video. Anyone have any questions? I'm open up for the questions, and then we can discuss.
So territory, shared using territory means what, sir?
There is a there is an capability
There
in
is an
Salesforce
option
where
in role hierarchy where shared using territory is the option.
shared using territory is basically this is separate topics. We do have territory in Salesforce, and based on using territory, we can also share a record. That is, I think this is basically for standard objects, accounts, cases, opportunities.
It is
So,
more of a sales cloud, right?
yep, more of Sales Cloud. In territory, even we do have two types of territory. One is standard, and we have Enterprise 2.0. So mostly people are using Enterprise 2.0. Yeah, but that is the complete different things. But you just need to make sure that this is also involved in record sharing, record level sharing. Even in interview, if you say that you know using territory you can share a record, but you don't know what territory is or you have not got a chance to work on, that's okay. That's not a big deal.
Yes.
Okay, anyone else have, or this session was too overwhelming?
Amit, one question.
Go ahead.
So in OWD, it is like a best practice to set all the objects as private. Is that good, or we should have to follow the other instructions or other process?
So as a best practice, it will always be private. I'll say make the OWD as private, and then use the options that Salesforce does provide to share a record. But yeah, somehow suppose that you know that this particular object should be visible to all the users. Suppose that you have got employee records into your Salesforce environment. Now any employee can see the information of other employees. There are definitely there are some kind of sensitive information that not every employee can see, but on and overall if we see, we can find an employee and we can search the information of that particular employee, what the experience is, what was their previous company, what is their wing for which they actually works, what are their expertise areas. We can see all those things, right? So if we know that this particular object will be visible to all the users, best practice is to make it read only, and then share it and give more access to the set of users which are basically working on those particular records, or they are intended to modify those records.
Yeah, by using profiles.
Profiles and these other options that we do have, like
Yeah, yeah.
sharing rules. So we have manual sharing, apex managed sharing, and all those options that are available.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Amit.
Yep. Anyone else have?
Yes, Amit, one question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I have a two users of same profile
Okay.
and I have to set a security on task object. Okay.
Okay.
And that task, let's say task A is assigned to user 1 and task B is assigned to user 2,
That
and
means
both are
owner.
of, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
both are of same profile, and my requirement is the task A must be visible to user A only, and task B must be visible to user.
Okay. That means what OWD you set at a profile, sorry, object level, it should be private. If you are making it private, the only owner will be able to see visit that record. And
Yes.
again,
Yeah.
again, one more thing. If what I know that as far I know, if you have access to the parent object, task is the child object, with it will automatically be available to all the users who is having access to the parent object. Then again, in this case, if the user 2 or user 1 having parent object, they will be able to see the related task as well. But again, if we can, because there are some cases we can define the OWD for our task object as well, we can definitely make sure that we are making those changes. Or if that is also not the case, what we can do is we can override the view button, and we can check if the logged in user is actually the owner of that task, then only navigate to the detail page, else display the error message. These are some combinations that we can try.
But let's say if I have ample of user, let's say I have 10 users or 100 users, shall I need to do the same for all?
um See, that VA thing or the override thing that we just discussed is, it's nothing, it's a generic solution. That VA, what it is doing, it is just checking the owner of your task, checking if the user who is logged in or trying to access that record, if that user is owner, then only display to the related sorry, detailed record. If not, then throw the error message. So no matter how many number of users you do have in your Salesforce environment, or how many number of tasks you do have, and they will get the error.
Okay. And it is achievable, like the task A must be visible to user A only, or task B can also, or user B can also see that task 1. Just a
Yeah,
question.
yeah, definitely, definitely. But you have to you have to do some kind of R&D on this, because this is not a most popular asked question. Like, I can say that not a general question. So if it is a custom requirement, definitely we have to do some R&D. But yeah, that's definitely possible.
Yes, just because I was working on it, so I was facing problems. So
Yep, we can definitely do that.
yeah. Okay, okay, sure. Thank you, Amit.
Yep. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, Amit, one question.
Go ahead.
If a user does not have access to a specific record type, will they be able to see the record that have that record type?
Sorry, can you come again?
If a user does not have access to a specific record type,
Mm-hmm.
will they be able to see the records that have in record type?
Yep, definitely. They will be able to see. But if they
Hmm.
are trying to create a record with that specific record type, they will not be able to. Yep. In
Okay,
that
okay.
case,
Huh.
in your case, what it will do, it will not be, the record type ID field will not be visible in a detail page, record detail page.
Okay, 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 fine.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? Um, Shubham, are you there? I think we are good to wrap up the session.
Okay, okay. So I don't
So
think
again, if anyone have any question, yep, go ahead, Shubham.
people having another question, so we can wrap it up. Proceed. You may proceed, Amit bhai.
Sure, Shubham. Again, guys, if you have any kind of questions, feedback for us, please feel free to give the feedback, ask the questions over all the channels available to you. I will be definitely be helping you in all possible ways.
Okay, guys. Then see you tomorrow, 7 p.m.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Amit.
everyone. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you, Amit. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.